Hey, this is how you do the king's hook in arm wrestling. The king's hook is very similar to the king's move. The only difference is that in a king's hook, you actually maintain your cup. The king's hook works best against a press because in a press, you want to maintain your pronation, while in a king's hook, you're trying to attack the other person's pronation. Similar to this, in a traditional king's move, you actually give away your cup because you're trying to maximize your pronation to attack the other person's wrist. So we will go over the setup of the king's hook and the execution. Now the setup of a king's hook is very similar to that of a top roll. You need to gain height through your hand and through your elbow. Your hand needs to be as high as possible at the top right corner of the elbow pad. Now, unlike in a traditional top roll, where you're mainly trying to maintain your pronation, although you're still trying to do this, you're also trying to gain depth through your hand. You're trying to cover as much as your opponent's hand as possible because you want to take their pronation. This is the starting point. Once you have height through your hand like this and through your elbow by moving it to the front edge of the elbow pad, you need to gain depth. You gain depth by covering as much as your opponent's hand as possible through your fingers, and similar to the top roll, you need to also maintain your pronation. So you supinate, you kick back during the grip to keep your pronation safe. You need to gain both depth and height. So once you're here, the match starts. Now, unlike in a traditional king's move, you don't allow your cup to be lost. You actually try to maintain your cup, and since the other person is pressing, they're gonna try to keep their pronation. So you want to keep your cup, drag back, and start going to the side because that's what allows you to maximize your ability to pronate. Because without your pronation, you cannot king's move. The base of the king's move is your pronation. So you need to pronate not only through your hand and your forearm, but also through your shoulder, like this. Your whole shoulder joint needs to be turned over. So once the match starts, you're pulling back, you're keeping your cup, applying back pressure through your elbow flexion and through your back. You're dragging straight back, and once you're at the edge of the elbow pad, from here you start going to the side while trying to maintain your pronation. Now, the other person is going to want to press. So they will also be pulling you to the side, actually pushing you to the side, attacking your side pressure. Now, if you are able to maintain your cup and most of your pronation, because when you cup, you slightly lose your ability to pronate. So you cup, and if you are able to maintain most of your pronation, once you're completely to the side, your back pressure may start to open slightly because your opponent is applying pressure directly on your back pressure, like what you're trying to do in a press. So you're here, you're starting to open up slightly, but you're maintaining your cup, and that's what takes away power from a presser because you're taking away their pronation. When you take away pronation, then they're applying pressure through this part of their hand, and they are not able to generate the maximum amount of pressure through this point. So once you're here, you're holding them, they're pushing, they're trying to open your hand, your arm, and most likely they're going to stop around here where the elbow pad is, just above it, because you've taken away their pronation. And since most of their power is gone, you will hold there. You won't be able to instantly pin them because if they are of relatively similar strength. So you're trying to, in a king's move, the king's move is basically a defensive position. It is the last option that you have. If you've been doing a top roll and you fail, the king's move is the last thing you have. If you started with a hook and you are unable to compete in a hook successfully, it may turn into a king's hook. So a king's move and a king's hook are basically the last option that you have. And it's also an advanced move, so I would not recommend trying to practice this in a match as a beginner. You should focus on your top roll and your hook and slowly build towards these advanced moves. So, as I was saying, it is a defensive move. So, you're basically holding on and tiring your opponent out. And once they're tired enough, you can slowly start to come back, applying your back pressure, regrip, taking a better grip, trying to gain more height and more depth during the match. And by the time you're at the center, your opponent is tired out and you can pin them in any way you want. So that was the king's move and the king's hook, and that is how you perform them.